Hey guys, it's James, the movie doctor. I'm going to start doing a new series where I count down top 10 genres of which I've only seen a movie once and I don't want to see again. Today we're going to start off with comic book movies. It's strange but true. I've only seen certain comic book movies once and only once. So before I get to the bottom 10, I should say, there are other ones I haven't seen that didn't quite make the list, like, say, Bulletproof Monk. It was probably a little bit existential for me. Casper, a little bit soft. And I'm sure there are countless others that are, not worth mentioning, but they weren't, like, terrible that I, would want to put on the bottom list of what movies I've only seen once. Let's cut the hoi polloi and let's get into the bottom 10 list. Based on a Dark Horse comic book, the movie Virus stars Donald Sutherland and Jamie Lee Curtis as a crew on a oil tanker that comes across a basic alien that uses the technology and dead human body parts to form a new life form. And I didn't really care for the movie. Felt too much like an Alien ripoff, and the characters are always yelling at each other and barking at each other, and nobody could really root for. And it was directed by a guy who basically is a special effects artist, not a movie director, so his pacing is so off, and it didn't really do it for me. So number 10 for movies I've seen only once is Virus. At the success of the X-Men movies and the Spider-Man movie in the early 2000s, everyone was trying to hop on the comic book movie bandwagon, and 20th Century Fox decided to dip their hands into the well, but not with a Marvel property, so they went with The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, a colossal misfire from the director of Blade. I thought that basically they didn't know how to handle the characters. It's basically a movie where something happens in the turn of the century and literary heroes from Alan Quatermain to Tom Sawyer to even Jekyll and Hyde are called upon to come together and try to stop a madman from taking over Europe or whatever. But a lot of it didn't make much sense to me. A lot of it was painfully inaccurate, like the car chase in Venice. It's not possible. Because if you've seen, like, say, The Last Crusade or even Casino Royale, you know there are no streets in Venice. It's all canals. It's all waterways. You can't drive on waterways. And even so, it's just sometimes they don't know the size between things, like the submarine that Captain Nemo has. Sometimes it's ginormous, and other times it's just large enough just to fit underneath the bridges of the canals in Venice, and it has a twist that only M. Night Shyamalan would say, "Oh, that's a great twist at the end. I love it." It's a severe misfire, and unfortunately, it's Sean Connery's last film. He ought to come back and do. I would say come back and do something that would wipe the ugly taste of this movie, but whatever. Number 9 on my list is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Convinced by the success of the first two Batman movies and the Dick Tracy movie over at Disney, Universal was looking for a property they could call their own and make their own comic book movie, and they had the rights to The Shadow. So originally they were going to try to get Sam Raimi on it, but they thought he was too unseasoned considering that Army of Darkness didn't do so well at the box office and whatever. So they gave it over to Highlander director Russell Mulcahy. It's an okay movie. It's Alec Baldwin plays the lead character. Can't think of what his name is, but basically he's a man with a very dark side which takes over, like a Jekyll and Hyde type of thing. So he learned how to use it to his advantage, and seek out the criminal element with it, and it's an okay movie. I just can't really recommend it. I've seen it once; it didn't really do it for me. It's set in the 1930s. That's probably another thing that why it didn't do well at the box office. Just not the audience doesn't really know the character, neither do I. So, maybe if I knew the character, I might have liked it a little bit more. But I really didn't know anything about the Shadow, except he just knows evil that lurks in the hearts of men. So, number 8 is going to be the Shadow, unfortunately, on my list. Still in the mid 1990s, comic book films were still trying to find their way, and United Artists decided to buy the rights to the comic book Tank Girl, starring Lori Petty and Malcolm McDowell, respectively. Basically, it's a movie that's set in the future where a comet disrupts the rain cycle, so water is few and far between, and one company controls all the water when it's controlled by a man played by Malcolm McDowell. Lori Petty basically plays a scavenger, more or less, until her family's killed. Then she wanders a wasteland until she comes across a bunch of, get this, muted kangaroos, and decides she's just gonna, go after the corporation and everyone that killed her family and whatnot. I thought the film was just too frenetic, just didn't want to settle in one place and just tell the story, just wanted to go. It's definitely a movie for people with ADD and have zero attention spans. So, yeah, number 7 is going to be Tank Girl on my list. Hey, it's the mid-90s. Warner Brothers has DC Comic Books, Marvel's in bankruptcy. What does Paramount Pictures do for a comic movie? They get rights to the Phantom. The Phantom! Because a comic that was created in the 30s worked so well when it was The Shadow. So The Phantom comes out in 1996. Basically, I know more. I've seen it only once. I know more. I know basically because I read about it in a chapter from the Bruce Campbell autobiography where he said he auditioned for the role and he lost out to Billy Zane. And Billy Zane is... I can't blame Billy Zane for his lifeless performance because he is kind of lifeless in it, but the costume design for the suit is... It's for 1996. It's horrible. I know the movie set in the 1930s, and basically, but like super tight spandex or tights just don't work. It's just a quick design, and basically that's I wouldn't say it's my main flaw. It was trying too hard to be an Indiana Jones movie, I thought, and just didn't really gel for me. Again, character development and whatnot. But it does have a very early performance with Catherine Zeta-Jones in it as a pirate in a movie. But, that's okay. It's, maybe it's just a movie not for me. So, number 6 is The Phantom. 1997 had a trio of horrible comic book movies. I can't put Batman and Robin because I've seen it more than once. So this one is Spawn, the adaptation of the Todd McFarlane comic book. I thought it was too dark, too depressive. I hated the clown character, and Michael J. White's Spawn didn't really have anything for me to latch on to. It was just all anger and hate and just grr. I don't mind the makeup so much. I like to go for characters and character development, but basically his whole thing is just I'm so angry. I'm gonna kill everybody. That's all his motivation is. Not like I'm not until like very 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 late in the movie does it. He do something different, but the effects are kind of dopey, and I wish Hell looked a little bit better in the movie, but what are you gonna do? I think the movie was more fast-tracked than anything. So, number 5 is Spawn on my list. Now let's go to the third film in 1997 of that horrible year of comic movies. So we're going to go with Steel. Well, I can't say it it's a different plot from the comic book. It kind of follows more or less the same boundaries. Just the execution is horrible. The idea behind it is terrible. Has the worst looking comic book outfit, arguably. Just he's Shaquille O'Neal is supposed to be playing a weapon designer. I understand that he gets disgraced or whatnot, and realizes that the weapons he designs are on the street, but even if you're in a junkyard, you could probably make something that looks a little bit better than just a big walking pile of junk. Hell, Tony Stark freaking made the Mark One out of a bunch of scraps, and that looked a lot more believable than this suit does. So, Steel is number 4 on my list. One does not give the rights to Roger Corman for a comic book movie and expect quality to come out of it. So, number 3 on my list is Captain America, the 1990 version, where the son of J.D. Salinger, Matt Salinger, portrays a hero. Or, well, if you want to call him a hero. Just a lot of running around. I can't say they got it wrong. It's just, when you're working with the Roger Corman movie, the budget is just not really there. And if I remember correctly, they only had one suit to work with. So you see the suit in the beginning for like a quick scene, and at the end for a quick action scene. Because they only had the one suit to work with. Otherwise, basically, Captain America fights an Italian Red Skull because, the Italians were Nazis. They were sided with the Nazis. They weren't Nazis per se. So, come 50 years later, the Red Skull is still alive, had a few plastic surgeries to, make it so he doesn't have a red skull. But he decides his grand plan is to kidnap the President of the United States, brainwash him, and hold him for ransom. So, Captain America gets revived somehow, gets found in the ice and revived, and basically goes running around Europe and trying to find him. What can you say? You can't really do a comic book movie with a Roger Corman budget, so the 1990 Captain America is number 3 on my list. There's something to be said about a big budget action movie that has no respect for the property but just wants to use a property in a movie just to try to make some money, and that would be my number 2 pick, Catwoman. I am not a fan. I thought the movie was incredibly dopey. I wouldn't say it's filled with one-liners, just the characters are just a bit, a bit off. I didn't really buy anyone was a real person in the movie. I understand you go through certain situations or whatnot, and basically you're like, I'm going to guess Halle Berry's method acting was, what would a cat do? I'm not saying Michelle Pfeiffer didn't do the same thing, but she probably did her method acting a lot better from a better cat than Halle Berry does in this one. And besides the fact, half of Halle Berry is CGI in this movie. Because, why do we want to get a stunt woman or get her to do some of this stuff? And it's just about as many bad puns in it as Arnold Schwarzenegger from Batman and Robin. Basically, Sharon Stone is a magazine editor who's trying to find the fountain of youth, more or less, and make her, stop aging or whatever. And Halle Berry finds out that she's up to no good and is trying to stop her. And Benjamin Brad is like, "Look at me, I'm in the movie." So, how can there be a worse movie than Catwoman at number 2 on my one-timer list? Well, let's find out. There were 3 comic book properties that Roger Corman bought in the late 80s, early 90s. The first one would be The Punisher. That wasn't too bad. It did what it could with a budget, and, Dolph Lundgren was okay. I already said my number 3 one was Captain America. But my number 1 pick for comic book movies I've only seen one time, I don't ever plan on seeing again, will be the 1994 version of the Fantastic Four. Rumors persisted that this film didn't exist. It was destroyed because it was only filmed just to retain the rights for Constantine Films, another Roger Corman film company or whatever. But surprise, surprise, somebody had a copy and sent it to Comic Cons everywhere. And was it worth it? Not by a long shot. The only person I can think of name-worthy was Jay Underwood, the kid who was in The Boy Who Could Fly, and he played Johnny Storm in it. Well, I can't say the film isn't true to its origins. It's just, when you, again, with the Roger Corman budget, everything you want to do is just not there. The writing's terrible, the effects are terrible, the thing suit is horrible. Like, sometimes you can even see the eye, the separations in the mask. Johnny Storm is when he becomes the Human Torch. It's a cartoon. And you could do better practical effects in the 1990s. And the less I say about the plot, the better. It just plays like a very bad Saturday morning cartoon. So, the 1994 Fantastic Four movie is the number one movie I don't ever want to see again. I've seen it once and I'm going to end it. So, that was this list of the Film Doctor's one-timers. So, I hope you like the show. So, I have plenty more lists and plenty more genres to go. So, thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed it.